Well, the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas is no stranger to denying atrocities. He wrote a thesis for the Soviet Academy of Sciences claiming that Jews, or Zionists as he called them, conspired with the Nazis during the Holocaust. To talk more about that, we're joined by Izabella Tabarovsky. She's from the Kennan Institute at the Wilson Center and is a fellow at the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs. Good evening, Izabella. Thank you for being with us. Do you think that Mahmoud Abbas actually believes what he says and what he writes, or is this more about casting enough doubt on what happened, about muddying the waters, so to speak?
To be honest with you, I don't even think it matters what he really thinks. What matters is what he says and what he hopes his words will elicit in his audiences. And as you say, he has in the past denied various aspects of the Holocaust. He has questioned the numbers at various times. He questioned, he claimed that it was Jews' own fault, that Hitler turned against them. And so it's very much along kind of aligned with some of the things we hear from him before. And it very much aligns with his thesis, which, as you say, he defended in the Soviet Union, where he claims essentially that it was Zionists who are guilty of the Holocaust. And I think that the reason that this outrageous lie works is that it builds on an old trope that demonizes Jews so much that it becomes easy to believe that they will do something so horrible that no other people would ever do, which is to murder its own people en masse.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because Holocaust denial is illegal in several European countries, yet he does have relations with European leaders, and indeed European countries send him a great deal of money year on year.
Well, absolutely. And I think that, more recently, actually, right before October 7th, there was another instance in which he said something like this, and European countries this time commented on it. But I think part of the reason that we haven't seen them do it is well, there are all kinds of reasons, but some of it is that he talks about Zionists a lot of times. And, you know, this separation between Jews and Zionists has enabled all kind of anti-Semitic tropes to be brought into public conversation, simply replacing Zionists with Jews, but using the same anti-Semitic tropes. And yet that confuses people, and it gives people a way out to say that this is just a criticism of Zionism, it's just criticism of Israel.
Yeah, I want to talk a bit more about that in a moment, but can you tell us a bit more about this thesis that he wrote and how it fits in with the Soviet anti-Western propaganda that persists today, and which does seem to have taken hold among many young people in the West?
So he defended his thesis in 1982 in Moscow at the Institute of Oriental Studies. And this is significant for a number of reasons. Those were the years when the Soviet Union, in fact, conducted a massive propaganda campaign against Israel and Zionism. It was an international campaign. It actually lasted for nearly 20 years, in multiple languages, in dozens of languages, directed at dozens of countries via various sources and various channels. And the Institute of Oriental Studies was, in fact, a crucial part of that propaganda. It was part of several academic institutions whose goal it was and whose task it was from the top to legitimize this propaganda, to make it look like it's actually legitimate academic research. It was headed by Evgeny Primakov, who was an Arabist associated with Soviet intelligence his entire career, future prime minister of Russia. So very much, you can see how this propaganda is directed from the top down. And Abbas's thesis essentially replicates, he draws, you can see it from the footnotes, he draws on Soviet propaganda, on deeply anti-Semitic books, and it replicates all of the tropes that we hear replicated today in the West, suggesting that Zionism is fascism and Zionists are racist and Israel is a settler colonial and apartheid state. So all of the tropes that we hear replicated mostly on the left today, but not only, they all are there in his dissertation.
And as you point out, I mean, you can't walk around civilized countries today shouting about how much you hate the Jews. You can talk about how you hate the Zionists, though. How is this effort to separate Jews and Zionists one of the more defining and successful aspects of this disinformation campaign?
Well, I think it's absolutely crucial because you see what it gives people, as I already mentioned, kind of a way out. They can say, well, I'm not being anti-Semitic, I'm just being anti-Zionist. It's something we hear today all the time, and it's actually something that Moscow used to say all the time during the Cold War, when the West accused it of spreading anti-Semitic propaganda internally and globally, and they would say, well, we're just being anti-Semitic, and Zionists always try to deflect from the criticism of the state of Israel by claiming that this is anti-Semitism. It's precisely what we're hearing today. For the educated elites in American universities, it's a godsend. They can continue to use the same conspiracist anti-Semitic tropes that have been so harmful to Jews by replacing the word Zionist, the word Jew, with the word Zionist. But of course, this is just a trick, because if you're still using the same ideas, the same explanatory logic, the same conspiracist tropes, you're still dealing in anti-Semitic conspiracy theory.
Yeah, the ideas promoted by the Soviet Union live on long after the Soviet Union fell. Izabella Tabarovsky, fascinating. Thanks very much indeed. Great to talk to you.